Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga visiting Limpopo to monitor the functioning of several schools in that province. Her visit sadly coincides with a disturbing incident in that province where a pupil took her life after being assaulted at a school in Vhembe. That case has brought bullying at schools back into sharp focus and raised renewed issues of pupils' mental health. For more on her visit and this incident itself, let's bring in Minister Angie Motshekga, who joins us now via our video link from Tzaneen this morning. Minister, great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for chatting to us. We'll speak in a bit more detail about your visit and what it entails in just a moment, but I'm sure also top of your mind is this very disturbing incident that took place over the last couple of days. I wonder what you're able to share with us, Minister, about what you've been able to ascertain insofar as what happened at that school.
Well, thank you very much and good morning to your listeners and thank you for having me. Indeed, let me start with the incident at Mbwili. I've been in communication with the MEC who already has been to that area with her counterpart from social development but also the Commissioner of Police. The report I received from them was that the previous day, which would have been on Monday, the girls fought and unfortunately fought quite violently. And unfortunately, then the other pupils took a video which they circulated, and apparently, I mean, from her note, is that she was completely distraught by just even the mocking that came with her beating and took her life at her home. So the MEC or the officials have been to the family, and the family on Monday, they were still too distraught to talk, and they said they were unable to engage. So yesterday we had sent people to also go and speak to the family of the deceased. But on the other hand, the MEC and the commissioner had advised or requested, because when the MEC went to the police station, they said, no, you can't open a case. It's the family of the assaulted that can open a case. So the case has been opened, and indeed that 15-year-old has been arrested for assault. But not, yeah.
Right. You know, if the Human Rights Commission in the province is anything to go by, Minister, they were on the channel yesterday, and they said that the principal at the school was in fact aware that the victim was being victimized by the now suspect, as you say. And I wonder whether you have been able to corroborate that yourself, the fact that this is actually not news to the staff at the school, who, of course, we know are responsible for safeguarding these children.
No, yes, indeed. I did get the report that the girl apparently had reported twice about being bullied, and the fight took place outside the schoolyard, and it's the teacher who came to break them up. But I did get the report or the information that it was not the first incident that this girl had been bullied at school.
And it's further alleged that the principal did nothing, raising questions about what ought to happen when we know that there's this kind of interaction between pupils, at least insofar as protocol is concerned.
As I said, we did get the report that not only did the girl report to the teachers, but reported to the school. And we've agreed with the MEC that we'll follow up, get the details to see what they've done. So that's what the Human Rights Commission is saying, but also that's what is being said at school. So for us to act, we need to get all the facts and really decide what to do, what will be the right procedure to follow.
Fair enough. You know, a lot of what's been said has been directed at the department itself, and that has its place, you know, calls for accountability, etc. But it would be remiss for us to miss the fact that this is a societal issue that needs all kinds of collaboration. In fact, in many instances, these problems start at home. I wonder, from your vantage point, what kind of assistance from even other sectors you could receive as a department to claw back on what is really, again, an issue rooted in our society.
No, you're very right. What we can't run away from as the department is that when parents bring their kids to us, they expect us, or we are required to ensure their safety. So we have a major responsibility in doing that. But you're quite correct that young people, our society being violent as it is, when they leave the schoolyard and are outside the school, yes, they continue to be a responsibility, but as I said, they fought outside the schoolyard, they are also part of the society or of the community. And that's where we need lots of support and assistance. I can say, for instance, going to my visit today, you will be aware that the presidential stimulus package did give us some money to employ young teacher assistants, but also your care workers. Because we also are very conscious of the fact that because of the depression and the difficulties that have been brought by COVID-19, there's lots of depression and also social and mental issues that were there. Just between January and now, we have deployed almost 100,000 young people who are care and support workers to work with our young people. But as you said, the problem is big, despite the fact that we have these care support workers who are young, who are supposed to also assist us engage with young people, because as I say, some of the things they do outside their yard. You may not even be close to it. But also with this COVID-19, teachers are under extreme pressure in trying to cope with the requirements of health. On the other hand, they have to be teaching and indeed have to deal with the difficult situation of a violent or psychological and sociologically challenged communities. So it is a big problem. But I must say, we do have lots of NGOs that work with us. We have social development. Hence, even the MEC is being accompanied by the MEC for social development. They always come to our rescue, but half the time, look at this fatal incident. It may not be adequate to deal with the challenges that are facing us. But we do get lots of support.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that, you know, the burden of sensitizing people around mental health issues cannot be left on just these newly deployed young teachers to those institutions. I wonder how much training for more experienced teachers is taking place to sensitize them around these matters. Because again, if the Human Rights Commission's version of events is anything to go by, the victim actually missed an exam after the first few moments when she was assaulted, and the teachers didn't pick this up.
Yeah, you're quite right. These care support workers are young, but they are very well trained young people who have been trained in the area of work that we have deployed them in. They're experienced young people, and the advantage is that young people find it much more difficult to even discuss with other young people when it comes to issues of emotional and mental issues. But we also, in most schools, have almost all schools, every school is supposed to have a teacher who is responsible also to look at issues of well-being of learners. But as I say, we're working, I'm really not making even excuses. We're working under very extremely difficult conditions with this system of other learners coming today, others not coming today, and coming the other day, not coming the next week. So it has created a high level of instability in the sector. But I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm really trying to say the situation we find ourselves with all the health protocols has made our sector very unstable.
Yeah. You know, Minister, your visit to Limpopo also coincides with quite an important moment within the sector itself. My understanding that there's been new regulations that have now been passed to bar what's been described as sex pest teachers from continuing to work in the sector. Broadly, essentially, people who've been found guilty of sexual offences can now officially be struck off any kind of list to be able to enroll back into the sector itself. I can see why unions have welcomed this. I mean, the reasons are quite obvious. But what was the regulation before, and how long was that in place?
You know, we didn't have adequate regulations which enable our human resource system to deal with such, because you will find that a teacher has been disciplined here, has been suspended here, or even dismissed from the school. But because we didn't have adequate regulations through SAIS, they could apply to another place, and there was very little we could do. So we had to get some legal instruments which bar them from really moving from one school to the other or from one province to the other. We didn't have adequate instruments to help us manage that situation adequately. And that's why we have brought these regulations.
Right. And my understanding is that the regulation, though, can only be used if a person has been found guilty. It's such a complex situation. I have to ask, what happens in that moment where there's been an allegation and there hasn't necessarily been a guilty version or verdict just yet?
Yeah, it will be difficult because you have to give reasons if you really would not employ a person. Just say there are allegations that you had molested or you had harmed. So there must, because if at least they have been expelled, there will be evidence that they have been charged. We will have then paper evidence which says, indeed, here's the allegation and this is what has been done. But if it's rumored to say he's touched a girl and we have no evidence. We don't have much to go by with to be able to legally bar that person from taking up another appointment.
That said, do you feel that these regulations go far enough?
Let's try them and see if indeed they give us the necessary tools that we've always been requiring to be able to deal with the situation. We've tried our best. I guess that's what we think is best. They may prove not to be adequate, or maybe they're inadequate. So when we really put them in the system, that's when it will tell us that we still don't have enough teeth to continue regulating that space.
Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga, thanks very much indeed for chatting to us. A difficult time in the sector, certainly in the country as well, as we all have an invested interest in ensuring that our children are in the safest environment as possible. Thanks once again, Minister, for chatting to us on the AM Report.